let's jump right in. So our four heroes have reconvened to work on the first studio album together since 1977. Now, according to Gene, in order to let Peter know that Paul and himself thought highly of Peter's album, they decided to go with his producer, the producer of his solo album, which is Vinnie Poncier. Again, a strange decision in my view, because Peters was seen as probably the greatest failure, both critically and commercially. However, Peter was pleased to be working with Vinnie Poncier again. He considered him a buddy. And according to Paul and Gene, Vinnie Poncier had decided during the pre-recording sessions that Peter's drumming wasn't up to it. It wasn't up to stuff. A feeling that was shared by Paul and Gene. However, there are conflicting accounts of this. Peter tells it slightly differently. Peter claims that apparently Vinny thought very, very highly of his drumming, thought his drumming was good, until he moved in with Paul. It was when he moved in with Paul that Paul turned Vinny against Peter. Did you disagree, Danny?
Well, I don't know. I would certainly buy a story that Paul would poison anyone's opinion about Peter or Ace. Now, Peter's not the best drummer in the world, but again, that story checks out. If Paul got his claws in Vinny, I believe that. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, same as you. I think that they're looking for any reason to turn on poor old Pete. Despicable.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think his drumming wasn't up to it. I think genuinely it wasn't. But also I think that Paul probably didn't help things. I think he probably pushed him over the edge and manipulated him against his old buddy Peter. At this point, though, Peter obviously still has a hand injury and is using cocaine pretty much day and night. In general, he wasn't really that pleasant to be around. So instead, they hired South African-born drummer Anton Fig. Now, I say South African-born drummer because every time his name appears to be in print, from when I've looked after it, it always starts with South African-born drummer Anton Fig. Like, that is the only interesting thing about him. So, it's strange. Anyway, Anton Fig famously played on Ace's solo album. Do you think on this album there is an attempt with his drumming for him to sound a bit more like Peter so they could keep up the facade? Or do you think, because I would say that, like, his drumming on this album is a lot less flashy than it is on Ace's album, but that could also be because the songs on this album don't necessarily lend themselves to any sort of flashy drumming. Danny, what do you think?
I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I'd focused on the drumming on this album, and I knew that it almost entirely wasn't Peter. Now that you've said that, there was like some particular moments, and we'll get to it. It was one of the songs where there's this really nice but very tom-based shuggy-duggy fill.
Yes.
And that's very Peter. It's like a really good Peter-style fill. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think it's natural for when a new member joins a band that, like, they might play it a bit safe, especially if you've got big characters like Gene and Paul in the room to sort of, like, give them what they want or what maybe they're used to. But yeah, I did notice the Sugar Dooga Doogs as well in the albums.
It's like Mike Mangini in Dream Theater.
Yeah, it sounds just like Mike Mangini. That would have given the game away instantly. Also, he's not in Dream Theater anymore.
That's what I mean.
He's not.
When he joined,
Oh, I see. So he's the Mike Mangini to Peter Chris's Mike Portnoy.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I feel that. Very, very comparable. So, I think when you said, because I know what song you're talking about when he does that really, really flashy fill, That is definitely gives the game away. Yeah. But it is the one I'm thinking of. They leave it right to the end. So it's only at that point where someone might be listening and go like, you know what, maybe that's not Peter. Maybe it's not. It could not do. Because he is... Because I used to have this album. I used to have this album on CD. If you look at the back, it just says Peter Criss drums. But then there's a bit underneath it that says all drums, tracks, every track apart from Dirty Living, basically. So tracks 1, 2, 3, 4, like in the little print by Anton Fig. So, didn't try very hard, did they?
No, they didn't.
No. They have a habit of doing this. They do on Creatures of the Night as well. But it's always like, we have to protect the fans. We have to protect what the fans think. You know. But then, you know, it's not as obvious as it is on Creatures of the Night when they replace Ace. But it's still like, you know, is that really worth it to protect? Like, is it better to tell someone that you're having an affair, or not tell them to protect them, but then fuck them really loudly in the next room? Kind of what it feels like to me.
I think Kiss could write any story, or they could twist any story in a way that they did it for the fans. Any decision they make, they could tell that story that, like, oh, well, we did that for the fans, regardless of what they actually did.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think also getting rid of him as well, because like, the fans deserve better. The fans deserve better drumming.
Mm-hmm,
but they don't want to get rid of him because the fans like the image. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I'm curious to... What has Peter said about this? Has he said like exactly how it was framed to him?
He's had bits and bobs to say. He thinks it's all Paul. He thinks it's Paul's doing. He also, though, wasn't mad about the material, so he wasn't that bothered. He kept saying, well, I really just wanted to be out of the band at that point. Some of his behaviour later on, particularly on the tour that ensues after this album comes out, is appalling. Like, just appalling. And his whole thing's like, I didn't want to be in that band. I didn't want to be able to just leave. Just fucking leave then. Why are you trying to make people fucking miserable around you? You absolute prick. Anyway. At this point, Paul says he had no idea if Ace and Peter were in or out. Obviously, the solo albums did not help quell tensions within the band. It did not work. It didn't work. Commercially, it didn't work. And in terms of, like, bringing the band back together, it has also not worked. Now, Paul says he found out that Bill O'Coin, their manager, had briefed anyone who was wanting to work with the band what they could say and what they couldn't say to every member of the band, because they're absolute egomaniacs. Like, they lived in an absolute bubble at this point. Now, according to Paul, at this point, they weren't really a rock band anymore, especially with Vinnie Poncier at the helm. He had brought in some new co-writers for them to work with, such as legendary Desmond Child, who would go on to work with Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, and Alice Cooper, and wrote or co-wrote some of the biggest hits of the 80s. And they penned I Was Made for Loving You together, which is a big hit. It was a big hit at the time, but it's quite controversial still within the Kiss fan base. And obviously we can talk about it more later. Paul said, though, that when he heard the song in the studio for the very first time, he was blown away. He says, it wasn't Detroit Rock City, it wasn't Love Gun, but it was undeniable. Danny, do you think, without giving too much away, that it is undeniable?
I don't know what that means.
It means it's undeniable. It means it exists.
It cannot
it's
be
definitely
denied.
A song.
Yeah, it's undeniable.
It's undeniably music. Alex, what do you think? Is it undeniable?
Yeah, it's definitely a song. I don't know. Should we talk about it now, or should we save it for later? Because listen to a song, even though
without giving too much away, though, do you think? Because I mean, what he means is essentially like it was undeniable. It was going to be a hit. It was going to be a hit. It's a hit.
Yeah,
it's power.
Oh no, I agree.
Prowess was undeniable. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think the hook just carries that song. I mean, that's what I was going to kind of say about it. Where it's just a really good, simple hook that sticks in your head. I think if like that was brought to him, and then you hear that and you go, oh yeah, clearly like that. When I say yeah, that's undeniable. Yeah, but the rest of the song, I don't think there's anything else special or magical there, right?
It's got a good bass line. Anyway, we'll get to it later.
That's all right. Okay.
Gene was still very much enamored with Cher at this point, and as a result, he's largely absent from this record. This plus the success of Ace's solo album means that Ace has a much larger role on this album, singing on 3 songs, which is one more than Gene. Now that's some sweet mercy right there. How, knowing that, I mean, I assumed you both knew that going in. How did that make you feel about this album, Alex?
I was more pumped to listen to it going into it, and however, it's not all positives. I mean, I suppose less Gene is a positive, but more Ace. I don't think everything Ace contributed is particularly great. Danny?
Yeah, I agree. Just as a fact, it's so wonderful to have less Gene, but yeah, it sounds like we maybe agree about the quality of Ace tracks on this album.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, it was definitely nice to see that going in, that we weren't going to have to sit through like 5 or 6 Gene songs. It was very, very nice. So, in fact, because they were so divided at this point, they realised that they could play most of the parts without involving the other members themselves. For example, Paul plays lead on all of his contributions, as well as bass on I Was Made for Loving You. Which makes sense, because the bass line's quite good. I was like, oh god, that bass line's good. It's nice. And it says I didn't even write it. The ensuing tour was not great. The demographic has definitely changed. It's changed quite a lot at this point. There's a lot of children and parents going to the gigs. They're all in attendance. There is also a change in outfits for this tour. Paul claims these outfits were, this is quoting him, ridiculous. He said they looked like a Vegas act jumping around in colourful outfits. Now, they definitely look different around this time. There's a lot more colour. There's capes. It's a lot bigger. It is bigger. Is it that much different? Is it that much of like, oh, it's ridiculous. It's silly.
Are these the ones that are used in the music videos? Because I need to look this up.
I'm not sure. Are they the ones on like the Tom Snyder show?
Yes.
Are they that different?
Those capes.
I think capes suit Kiss more than just about any other band.
Yeah.
Ace
I think
looks
the
good
colours
in the
as
cape,
well.
now.
Paul has beef with the colours. Because he said the colours were there to match the halo effect on all their solo albums. However, he thought that the kind of like the sort of the black and sort of white colours that they had before was too much dangerous for their younger audience now. So they had to add some more colour in it and some bombast to fit in with that.
Okay, well I see that, what he means. But I'm not sure. For starters, they don't add that much colour, do they?
Not really. There's the one colour on each, and there's always the capes. In fact, does Ace even have any blue? I'm not sure he does.
So.
Oh no, he's got a little bit. It's a little smattering.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Here and there.
Has Paul got any purple?
No, he's got lilac.
Oh.
I mean, I will agree that the lilac like leotard thing that he has is bad. That is bad.
Okay. Alright. Look. Their costumes before weren't groundbreaking, and they should change it up a bit. So, to me, I'm surprised there was any importance to the costume change.
If they're so concerned about the visuals, then surely you pick a better cover for this album.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the cover. against the cover. So, the tour was billed as the return of Kiss, because obviously they hadn't been around. They hadn't been around for a while because the 4 solo albums had come out, and they were expecting quite big numbers on this tour. They had to cancel 4 dates due to low ticket sales. They thought that this was possibly due, in part, to them playing material from the 4 solo albums on the tour, which made me think, actually, like, they didn't tour the solo albums. So no wonder they didn't do very, very well, because they didn't tour them. I mean, don't get me wrong, they weren't great anyway, and it wasn't like a great idea, but they didn't tour them. So, you know.
And also, is that how touring works in a sense? Like, if you do those songs early in the tour, does word go out? I suppose maybe people would pay attention to like reviews of tours there. But do you think those early shows would affect ticket sales for the later shows? Unless they were really, really bad and like reviews got out there that the solo songs were really not working. But I'm not so sure it's the case.
So, to answer your question, Alex, word did get out, or this is the theory in the band, is that the word was getting out, so they wanted to change it. So there's 2 set lists, and they changed them halfway through. Now, I want to ask you guys, what songs do you think from the solo albums that they played in the early set? And I'll give you a clue. They all got 1 each. Danny?
Surely Love in Chains from Paul. That's not what I'd choose, but that one was in the movie.
No.
What?
Mental.
Then Tonight You Belong to Me?
No.
I'm going to
Would
say
you like to know me?
Radioactive from Gene.
Alex, you're right. Radioactive is one of them.
Okay.
So that's one. You've got one. It is not that from
Okay.
Pause. Which one did you say again? Sorry, Tonight You Belong to Me. Oh, no, Wouldn't You Like to Know Me? No.
What else is there? I don't even remember what was on the fucking album after
Or is
that.
it one of the ballads? Is it one of the ballads that we didn't like?
It's not a ballad.
I think it's one I've forgotten. It'll be like...
It was Move On.
Oh, fuck off. Move on.
But it made me think, maybe that's just for practical reasons.
Yeah.
Because it might be the one they can get away with playing the most.
I think that's... Because that's the most like a Kiss song. So that's probably true. Peter could play that.
That's the
I'm
main
putting
thing.
up
You've got to consider
Aces.
what can Peter handle. What can he handle? All right, so that's 2. You got
New York
Move On.
Groove from
and-
Ace.
Yes, because that was an actual
Makes
hit.
sense.
So then you got one more. You got one from Peters.
I don't remember
idea,
Peter's
though.
song.
Let me pull up the album.
It was Tossing and Turning.
Oh.
I was tossing and turning.
Can
But-
you imagine that at a Kiss concert?
I know, it's ridiculous. And also, Peter absolutely fucking hated their version of it. He said it lost all the magical from the original. He said they put no effort to learn it properly, and he absolutely hated their edition of it. Now, they dropped 2 of the solo songs from the set because they worried the word had gone out that they were playing material from the solo albums that no one cared about, so they changed it. Which ones do you think they dropped? Danny.
I mean, politically, I'd say Ace and Peter, but going by like quality, surely they dropped Move On, and I'd say Move On and Tossing and Turning. I just feel like Gene would be a tyrant about his, and New York Groove was popular. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. If we're gonna, New York Groove was undeniable. That's an undeniable song. Yeah, I agree with you, Danny.
They kept Move On, and they kept New York Groove.
That's better because Radioactive sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does absolutely so. But the set list for the tour, in case you're interested, well, the typical set list was they started with King of the Nighttime World, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, which is what they replaced Radioactive with. Probably could have put a better song in there, definitely. Move On Stage, Calling Dr. Love, Firehouse, New York Groove, I Was Made for Loving You, Christine 16, Jesus Christ. 2000 Man. I know, yeah. Love Gun, God of Thunder, Shout It Out Loud, Black Diamond, and then for an encore they did Detroit Rock City, Beth, and Rock and Roll All Night. No 100,000 Years. Good. No Strata. Nothing. Anyway, Peter was not very professional during this tour. He didn't really like being on this tour. He didn't like the material that was on Dynasty. So he would purposely, in the middle of songs, speed up or slow down, which is very, very, very unprofessional. He's also very verbally abusive to the other members, but they hadn't considered firing him yet. Another thing they did in support of the album is they went on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Schneider. It's a very popular show at the time. And this appearance has kind of sort of gone down in history as being hard to watch, I guess. Quite funny. Hard to watch. A band clearly on different pages.
Yeah,
not really getting on. Essentially, Ace turns up for this interview. He's very, very scared about doing this interview. It was going to be live on TV. It was not pre-recorded. And he drank a bottle of vodka on his way over there, and then did a line of cocaine before he went on stage. To do the interview. Peter did something similar, but it's fair to say, how of the two of them, Ace is definitely the more, definitely the rowdiest. He's definitely the most gacked up out of the two of them. He's gacked up to his ears. I think that's fair to say. Alex, wouldn't you agree? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. It was very interesting. It's the first time seeing this interviewer as well. I know it was a big deal, but so I was a bit confused about the format. Yeah, it was genuinely like interesting to see this dynamic, because I barely heard Ace speak at all, and only then it's really like when he's old and complaining about other band members. So to see him, gacked up as you say, it was interesting. Do you guys? I feel as though, even though he's clearly off it, like, he doesn't come across that badly. He has such some moments where he seems like he cares, especially for poor old
Alex,
Peter.
I don't think he comes across badly at all.
Okay,
all his
good.
Jokes funny? No. But he comes up a lot more likable than Gene and Paul. Gene is sat there the whole time,
pouting,
clearly seething with rage.
Yeah.
They're not being professional enough. It's like, do you know what you look like? You're dressed as a fucking, devil, stupid little devil man. Like, why do you care so much? Why do you care so much? Like, it's not professional.
I completely concur with Alexi. I think Gene and Paul have a deep misunderstanding of what professionalism is in a rock and roll setting. Right. Ace and Peter come across so much better than them. They're fun. They look like a party up there. Yeah, and Lexi's right. Some of Ace's jokes bomb. Some of them don't. Some of them are fucking funny. But a lot of them are really bad. But
I will say, as you're lumping them together, I will say Paul comes across a bit better than Gene. Paul, you can see he's a bit standoffish. But I don't know. Gene, I think, is a level below.
What's messed up is they're trying to do this like image, but then there's a bit where Gene Simmons is trying to get Tom Schneider to like to give him the plots of cartoons, and he can tell them what episode it is, like the title of the episode is, and it's just like, that's really professional and dangerous, isn't it?
I think they tell the story, those two, of like, those two made a joke of it. Well, we were trying to, show the band's image, but actually they were just annoyed that they took the limelight away from them. That's all it was.
Also, I'm pretty sure there's a bit where Paul admits to having sex with a minor. I'm almost certain. There's a bit where he's like, there was a girl in my hotel room. Oh, don't arrest me. She was 16. She was a hooker. And stuff like that. He doesn't say he has sex with her, but fucking hell. He at least raise a couple of eyebrows. Jesus Christ.
They're not professional. Paul and Gene come across unprofessional in that interview. They're not giving it the way that Ace is giving it. Ace is giving it 100%.
Also, why does Paul talk like that? He's like looking off in the distance, just going like, and then I said I want to fight crime on the freeway, riding. Just like, no, who's this for? Why are you talking? You don't normally talk like that.
His
Why
answers definitely
like
come off
now?
as really pre-rehearsed, for sure. Paul seems he's prepared everything. And it
It's a
comes across
pitch.
stilted. You're right.
It's a pitch.
Both of them are pitching. It's like, well, we decided we wanted to create the rock band no one ever saw. So we did. And then whilst in the background, like, Ace is putting his, what do you call it, his cuffling things on a teddy bear. There's a really funny bit where Gene Simmons is trying to explain something. I think it's something about Beth, about how they did it. And Ace keeps interrupting her again and again and again. And then he tries to speak, and then someone starts playing Beth really loudly, and he completely drowns him out. But it's clearly guys are not getting on. There are two camps.
Two camps, absolutely two camps. You can see it. I think that's why it's a famous interview. It's such a clear split band. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Anyway, my feeling is really all is not well in the band at this point, and this is the last album till Psycho Circus where the original four appear in some capacity. Love Gun was like the last one where they all played on every track. This is the last one where they, at least till Psycho Circus, where they appear in some form or another, doing whatever. And this is it. This is when that era comes to a close. Anyway, the album was released in 1979 to quite negative reviews, but does decent commercially. Peaks at number 9, but my feeling with Kiss, like the rest of their albums, is it did well, but not as well as you think, not as well as you'd make out. You know. Anyway, let's talk about the cover. Let's talk about the cover. Danny, what do you make of this? Of this definitely not kind of thrown together, last minute minimal effort put in. You know, this striking image.
Well, the border is back. They love these fucking borders.
I put that there was a border. Yeah, border's back.
Border's back, and I mean, in a way, I like that because it really is like they're trying to do a Beatles front cover here, and I like that. It's very because again, not to skip ahead, but this album kind of more than any sticks by the Beatles business model. I really think we've got a lot of different members singing different songs, and that's reflective, so that's good. But just it's just not the best picture of any of them. Not one of them is that a particularly good picture. So I don't know. What do you think, Alexi?
I think visually it shows the power dynamic well. Ace and Pete are at the bottom whilst they sit. Yeah, and his chin to the chin's cut off. It's like Paul has too much head space and Ace hasn't got enough chin space. Gene did not get the memo. What is he doing? He's not consistent at all. And they should avoid using teeth because the makeup makes their teeth seem more yellow. Shouldn't do that. It avoids it. Like, I feel Paul looks the most handsome. You know, I think Paul and Ace look quite good.
He's got a good
Peter looks a bit sleepy, and you know, and Gene looks like he's meeting someone in the ladies' room. Return of the Border. It's not bad border. Gives it a sort of Polaroid vibe. But will it be an upside down Polaroid? I think if they'd done it as a Polaroid, like a little kind of candid picture, maybe they'd taken a booth, it might have come off a bit better. But I think when you're 7 albums in, you can't just keep relying on the makeup alone. You've got to do something a bit different. I think that's why Rock and Roll Over works so well, because it pushes it in different directions, or Dress to Kill. I think if this had been their first album, it would have been more effective. Because it's introducing, aesthetically a very strong band. But for the return of Kiss, I kind of get that they're trying to do like a unified, simplistic image. It just looks kind of cheap. It looks very, very cheap. Not that exciting, and just quite dull. Not bad. Also, the Ys annoy me. There's like the tail on the Ys are too long. Do you know what I mean? The T fits in, but then why the Ys just a little bit longer? Phallic. I say they got big dicks. Yeah. Right, Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, guys. The previous two proper Kiss albums before this were Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun. And I know there's a few disagreements with Love Gun, but those two are far better quality than this one. And this one, I don't know if you guys picked it up, but if you watch the two music videos from this album, this one was from, I think, Sure Know Something. And, like, these shots are in that video. They're doing, like, this kind of like little heads. Bohemian Rhapsody sort of thing. And so I think it fits in with what you're saying, actually, where they couldn't stand each other, and they probably didn't want to do a proper photo shoot together or do an extra date. So they used video stock from those music videos, and which both of them include that Gene face. He does that multiple times. So I don't know what he thinks this is giving, but he clearly was into it.
It's horrible. It's really horrible. I Was Made for Loving You, opening track, big hit. Let's pass this over to, I don't know, Danny. What do you think?
Well, I'd heard this, and this is the first song I even sang this to my mom, and she knew it. So this is big,
undeniable.
It's undeniable. I will, like, because this was on the greatest hits that I had. Any Kiss song I know, it's because of that basically. It's instantly I thought this is better than I remember. It had a great guitar lead at the start, like a little And you said, is it all Paul?
Yeah, it's all Paul.
Then he's killing it. It does a little like squeaky lead opening. That's great.
Also, it does sound like it's trying to be Ace. Because it's that squeaky little.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah. Even the bass, I could get behind. I think some people really love that bass line. But I think it's good. I straight away started writing things, and I think we might all agree here. I put, is this even that disco outside of the falsetto? I put, yeah, it's catchy. Overall, it's better to hear now that I'm a bit older. I think maybe I prefer it a bit. There's a good, I don't know if it's strings or keys or guitar with FX in the background, that makes it sound very disco. There's a sort of counter melody going on in the back.
Yeah.
There's a bit too much falsetto in the middle for me. Although it is impressive, it's very good falsetto. It's not my style, but Paul does it very well. I love when it comes back in. We get these muted like eighth notes. A great, lovely solo, squeaky solo. I put if Ace, then honestly up there, but it's a bit short. So Paul's really, he gets rinsed as a guitarist, but he's killing it there.
He's definitely on form. This is his baby. Definitely his baby from start to finish. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Danny said there. I do think there's a lot of disco in this. Not just the sort of the vocal line, the falsetto, but that rhythm, especially in the drums and the way the drums are produced. But also, and it's not just with this track, there's many tracks in here. Have you noticed that the lengths of the tracks are much longer? Most of them 4.5 minutes.
Yes, I wrote that. Yes.
That is a disco influence, for sure. Like
there is a version of this that's really long. It's like one of those kind of like 16-minute ones.
Yeah.
You can sort of play in a club for ages.
Because, from my limited knowledge of disco, like, that was part of the appeal, is that you would have these longer sections that could be used and broken out into and used in discos. I think it's good. I think Paul does a really great job, and like you were saying, Danny, the The guitar elements is really cool. The drumming and bass really solid. So I was surprised to hear how much of this is Paul. What do you guys think? And Alex, you can say what you think of the track in a moment. What do you guys think about them doing disco? Because I think it's really funny that it's very Kiss of them to do this literally as disco's dying. Like when I was looking up, like when disco fell off a cliff, like all reports are 1979 and the very beginning of 1980, and it just died off. I think that's a very Kiss move. What do you guys think?
Yeah, again, it's poorly judged, probably. But I don't know. I kind of agree with Danny. I don't know if it is that disco-y. Definitely disco tinged. You know, it's like disco infused rock, I guess, pop rock.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's not like the hard rock stuff was working out for them. Yeah. So, you know, there's... And I stand by that. It's not that disco. It's falsetto, and the chorus is quite disco-y. But even though it's got like that heavy guitar in it. Actually, it's more the verse that's more disco. Yeah.
I would have... Like Danny said, the hard rock stuff, again, wasn't really working. So if they did like a whole... If this had been a disco album, and an album of these, and we've got another track that I actually think is better than this.
Okay.
You know, it would have been pretty good. It would have been pretty good. I mean, like this... Yeah, if it's like a stab at disco, fine. It's still a lot better than the majority of stuff that's on all their albums. But I think it's good. I think it's a good groove. The bass does a great octave, kind of chic-esque triplet thing. It makes sense that Paul played the bass on it because, again, the bass is actually pretty good. I think with this, it's not really my thing. I like disco, but I like more chic, funk, and groove-orientated stuff. Rather than this, which is a bit more kind of trancey, a bit more Donna Summery. I think objectively, though, it is a well-written. And I can see where Paul was coming from when he said it was undeniable. It's very strong. The hook is very strong. The keys in the middle 8 are a bit dated, but you don't really notice because you're just like blinded by the falsetto, which is like something like it's impressive, but I think without the rasp that he uses in something like Love Gun, it does sound quite funny. Like he's being more Barry Gibb than he is Ian Gillan. But it's got a great hook. I do think maybe he should have given it to someone else like Donna Summer, who probably would have done it maybe a bit better, but it still is good. It still is good. It resembles a song, which is more than you can say for a lot.
Yeah, jumping on that,
they've made on previous albums. It's definitely
jumping on that. I want to say so many of the comparing it to previous Kiss songs, like when they ever did long songs or songs that felt too long, they just did the verse, chorus, and then they'll do the long outro, just repeating the chorus over and over again. And I like here that they play with the chorus a lot more, where it's just
they break it up.
It's a small thing, but it makes it much easier listen to. And I think, like I say, all the tracks are quite long in this one. This is the one where it feels the most justified, where they play with it enough to justify the length of the track.
Yeah, no, it is good. Also, last thought, this is not a disco album. This isn't a disco album. I don't know what is wrong with people. I think that is just like really unimaginative meat and potatoes rock people in cowboy hats. Like, it's a disco album. So it's got 2, maybe 3 disco tinge, and I think that's being generous. This is not a disco album, Danny. This is not.
No, not really. I can see the point people are making. I think it's a point. It's a valid point that Kiss are obvious fucking sellouts and that they're chasing a trend that's already died. So I think that's a point that's worth making. But I do think, it's not like they completely pivoted to disco. It's a rock album still.
Yeah, exactly. They also tried making a grunge album, which is technically still canon, even though they didn't release it. But you can still hear it that long after grunge was popular. So there you go. Anyway, 2000 Man. I like this. I think it suits Ace very, very well. He has a charm to his vocals that I think lifts the track pretty well. The random floor tom hits at the beginning in the verse go on like way too long. I did think as well, how bad must Peter's drumming have been that he couldn't have played this? Like, how bad must he have gotten? But the guitars sound nice and thick. His schlubby guitar solo cuts through very nicely. I've not heard the original, because this is a cover of a Rolling Stones song. But between Mick Jagger's vocals and Ace's, I would go with Ace's. I don't really like Mick Jagger's voice. I actually prefer Ace's, so that already is a benefit for me. I think the instrumental of this sounds just like the Sex Pistols, which shows how unedgy the Sex Pistols actually were. It's the same chord structure, the same BPM, it's all that stuff. But I would argue this is actually better than the Sex Pistols because Ace is a lot more likable as a vocalist than John Lydon. All round, I think this is a quirky, fun little track, and I think it's perfect for Ace. Very good. Two good songs in a row in my book. Alex, what do you think?
I don't like this song very much.
Oh shit!
Sorry.
Why not?
I don't know. This is one where, first of all, I thought this is too long. This is a 5-minute song, and they don't do very much of it. I did listen to the.
Is it because
original...
it's really undynamic and boring?
Yes. Which
okay, I get that.
It's interesting. I listened to the original, and the original. I don't think you would like the original, Lexi, because it is very much like Jagger's like quirky singing style. But the original is a lot more dynamic, and so there's lots of different sections, and like the sections sound very different from one another. So Kiss have actually very much like simplified it, like the structure far more. Yeah, it's just a bit. Yeah, it's a bit undynamic, like you say, a bit sluggish, and I do like Ace's voice in it. I will say that. But I think especially coming off the first track, it really halts the momentum. And it feels like, I don't know, like bonus content, like a sort of like, an extra recording they did, like, that you could find somewhere. Because it doesn't fit with the first track at all. I think... What do you guys think about having a cover song as the second song on your album like this? Do you not feel that's kind of like a strange move?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I think that is a weird move. I was kind of happy to find out this song was a cover though. What do you think, Alex?
It's a bit of an odd move. I think definitely as the second track, it's not a great choice. Sure Knows Something would have been a much better second track. But then if they'd paced it, they got to think about how they're pacing it. So if it's like, well, Sure Knows Something is definitely one of the strongest songs on the album. So if you're going strong song, they got to put some more filler in between. Yeah, more peaks and troughs. Yeah. Danny, what do you think?
I'm more with Alex, I'm afraid. I think it brings the album back in time. Why? We don't need this. Why are you covering a Rolling Stones song in the late 70s? I thought, what does that mean? Because I quite liked that it's quite a lyrical song, but then I started listening to the lyrics, and they're just horrible old dumb Rolling Stones shit. It's really not good lyrically. I'm afraid against you two. I put Ace, you don't need to go raspy. There's no need. I didn't think it sounded good. I thought, Ace, you've got quite a nice, clean voice. He could do a little bit of rasp if he's feeling hard rocking, but I didn't like his vocals. Maybe it's just the lyrics affected that. Boring solo at the end. The whole song is too long. I mean, part of the production, I think the opening riff, I was like, oh, this is alright. This is just the production, and maybe even just the mix made it feel a bit more up to date than stuff they've done in the past. But no, it's a pretty. I wasn't into this one.
I disagree. I thought it was good. Anyway, track 3. Sure Knows something. Let's throw this over. Oh, I don't know. Let's throw this over to Alex.
Okay. Sean knows something. Yeah. So this was again. It's weird to have like the first track, which is very much like disco influenced in there, like, and then 2000 Man, which is very much not, and then going back to Sure Knows Something, a little bit of whiplash there. This one grew on me quite a bit. At first, I was like, "Oh, it's good, but it's not as good as I Was Made for Loving You." But on repeat listens, I ended up quite liking this one. And then this moment, I also start to realize, like the band is not like this one is a Paul song, this one's an Ace song, this one's a Peter song.
Yeah, they're very much divided.
Yeah, they're really divided because like on tracks like this, it's very difficult to hear like any sort of influence from any other band member. I realized it. I think
it's worth bearing in mind that he doesn't do the solo. Ace doesn't do the solo. This is Paul doing the solo.
Yeah, I didn't realize that at the time. I thought that it was Ace coming through. The sort of disco elements of this one are good, but I think this one has a bit more of the Kiss rock to it, which I think works quite nicely, especially the build up to the chorus. The dun 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 dun. I think it's good. The chorus is really catchy, and we get Paul being really kind of ridiculously flamboyant, which I quite like. I don't know. I haven't much saying that. I think it's a good one. Lexi, what about you?
I like this one a lot. I think it's got a great fucking bass line.
Yeah,
I think it's got a great tone on the bass. It's very trebly, but it still has kind of like a mid-range punch. It's quite gnarly, and it gives the groove a bit of dirt and a bit of bite. I like it. This I actually think is Gene's strongest album, probably because he's not on it much. But also, when he is on it, he does have some good bass parts on it. Like, I don't know how much hand he had in actually writing it, that bass line, but it's still a good bass line. I think he shines quite well on. There's other songs on this album where I was like, oh, that's got quite a good bass part. How much he played of it, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's still good, and he plays it well. This is probably my favourite song on the album. I think that the quiet, loud dynamics from the verse to the chorus are very effective. Really makes the chorus punch. It's a great hook. It's a really good hook. And I love how the bass and the guitars accent the hook. They're very, very melodic parts. Paul, especially in the chorus, sings it very, very, very well. The verses, maybe you can sort of take and leave in terms of his vocals. But they do set the stage for the chorus quite well. I'm surprised this wasn't a bigger hit. Like, there's a lot of hummable sections in this song. Like, probably more than I Was Made for Loving You. Like, the bass line is hummable, the chorus is hummable, the middle 8 is hummable. Like, I would probably take this over I Was Made for Loving You. I think there's better sections, there's stronger sections. I actually think the lyrics are better as well. But again, that's marginal. That's really, really marginal. But I do prefer this. I prefer the hook. Danny, what do you
Yeah, I like it overall. I think I agree with you two. It's a good one. I actually think I'm not so sure the bass. I do love the bass line. I think it's just that it's not shit. Like, it's just like, oh, it's a perfectly passable bass line, so that's good. And I do think when his vocals come in the verse, that's when I start to really go, oh, that's great, because it's like we're building from the experimentation he was allowed to do vocally on his solo album. I like hearing Paul being able to just, I've been up and down, all that. I think that's great. I like how the dynamic change going into the chorus. It's got that little build, and then the chorus starts on a tension chord is lovely. It's great. Sorry, I'm singing a lot of this song to get my point across. It just sounds more modern than their other stuff. It sounds so much more up to date. I think, again, against all and any criticism that you hear on this album. I think they're mixing hard rock and disco really well. It's very balanced here. It's got that heavy guitar in the chorus, but it's got like Alexis said, the bass line. It's not my type of solo, the guitar solo, but it fits. It's fitting to the song. And so honestly, yeah, I can see why like the verse here is a bit of a leap stylistically. But the chorus is just an improvement of the hard rock choruses I've done before. It's just a good Kiss chorus.
And they blend together really well. As in, like, stylistically, the verse and the chorus are different. Yeah. But they still work together well. It doesn't feel like that much of a jump.
Yeah, it just fits. You're right, yeah. It's not like they've done before so many times, these crazy changes between like two parts of a song. The last thing I'll say is we've said before that they suit better production. And in a way, Destroyer was just more production. I'm not actually sure it was better production in many ways. This is better.
Yeah, it was more bombast, wasn't it? Without much flair. But you said like a tension chord that the chorus kicks off on. Yeah. The chorus proper explodes on this. Like, you really do feel like it's, something special. No, it's really good. Right. Dirty Living. Danny, I'm going to hand the baton over to you.
Okay, what did I put here? I quite like the opening. It was a good intro to the song. I said, I hope this is a Peter song, and it was. I was happy, and I put nice to have him back.
Do you not think that you could instantly tell it was going to be a Pierce?
Yes. I thought, this sounds like a Peter.
They are all at the same fucking BPM and have the exact same vibe. This, Hooligan, Baby Driver, this whole solo album sounds like this.
I put that. Yeah, I mean, I prefer this to Baby Driver and Hooligan, but I did put it sounds like off his solo album.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. In terms of his, bar ballads, bar Hard Luck Woman, bar Beth, his kind of like mid-tempo R&B rock song. This is stronger than Hooligan, stronger than Baby Drive.
His type of song. Going on, get over my Yeah, that's the Peter song. It was nice to have him back, and that it's almost bittersweet because I know what's happening to Peter. This is going to be the last Peter song we get. I don't know ever, but I don't know about Psycho Circus if he sings on it.
He does sing a bit on it, but I know what you mean. It is bittersweet because he ends on the most Peter note ever.
Yeah, it's just a Peter note. You're right. I wrote it's just the same thing. It's the usual not great song, but good vocals thing that he likes to do. I quite like the post-chorus guitar-y solo rhythm-y section that looks like an extended instrumental. Of course, his lovely raspy vocals are great. And also, it kind of goes to this weird major post-chorus bit after the second chorus, which sounds very 80s and looking forward to the next generation. I like him screaming, I can't wait at the end. There's some like quiet organ in the background that I thought was fine, and good backing vocals. So really, I'm actually surprised how much good I wrote about it. I don't think it was great, but I've only written good things, mostly. Except that just, like I said, it's not, the overall writing of the song isn't great.
I think it's good. I genuinely think this is good, but there is one glaring criticism that you didn't pick up on, and I'm curious to see if Alex is going to pick up on it. Alex, what do you think?
I don't think I did, because my notes are quite short for this one. Like, kind of in a similar vein to what Danny said, I'd put "not bad!" ! Like, just sort of like yeah. I agree. Even though I was harsh on Peter's solo album, I'm glad in moments like this it wasn't all for nothing. That Peter took the confidence from that and had his own style on the album, even if it isn't. Yeah, it's not one of the. It's not the best song on the album, but it feels better. It's like more balanced than songs off his solo album. I can't articulate why, but I feel that way about it. Yeah, good bass melody and the backing singers again fit in really nicely.
Again, the bass is good.
I do love his cheesy way of
Strong
singing,
Gene.
but yeah, I was into this. What did we miss out on, Alexi? Is it lyrics? I don't remember.
All
the
right,
lyrics
so
of this
I'll just say the positives. Oh yeah, the lyrics are great, but like again,
Okay.
like you don't listen to Leonard Cohen for blast beats. You don't listen to Kiss for the lyrics. Okay, so another great bass part. All of Peter's songs are exactly like this. Like I said, bar the ballad, same BPM, mid tempo, swagger. Again, lyrics are stupid, but like I said, you don't listen to Leonard Cohen for blast beats. It's definitely not enjoyable. Gene has upped his bass game. I like it. It's very Peter. My only criticism, though, it is way too long. 4 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. And it just goes round and round and round and doesn't really go anywhere. It just cycles round. That is quite a disco-y thing, but this is not a disco song.
I agree. I can't disagree, but I do think there's worse offenders on this album. I would say.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
For length. Yeah. I think with this though it's different because this song has 2 sections.
Right. I guess we'll move on in a second. I think the next track is a worse offender for going on and on and on.
See what the next one is. I'm quite curious. All right. Yeah, maybe this one. By the way, I did think Dirty Living was good. Dirty Living is a good track. Right. For me,
sorry, and you're not wrong. It is too long. You are still right.
Because it's like 2 sections, just goes round and round and round. It's like, Dirty Living. It's good though. No, for me, this has been so far 4 songs that I like. So basically, it needs like 2 more, and then it's definitely in top. Let's get up somewhere. All right. Charisma. Gene's voice is just so wank. It is really terrible, and the lyrics are also terrible. However, as Gene's songs go, I think musically it is one of the better ones. I think that's because it's in a minor key, and I think Paul's backing vocals with the phase and delay are an interesting touch. Maybe they don't work so well, but they're interesting. I also think the guitar solo is quite good. Again, I don't know if Ace played on it. I haven't got a fucking clue who played on any of these. It just seems like a free-for-all. But I do like his guitar solos. I think the track would have definitely benefited from a heavier guitar tone. But next to the 50s rock and roll shit, I would take this any day. But there's also like really weird high bass notes at the end that just don't do anything. It's not great. Not even maybe good, but it's not terrible. At least by Gene's standards. Like if I was the producer of this, or I'd been a long-term producer of Kisses, and Gene had brought this to me, I'd be like, "You're showing improvement.
Mm-hmm.
You're not quite there yet." Okay, Alex, what do you think?
For both this track and the other Gene track, I was gonna say, you're right. They're not good songs, but he's showing improvement. He is. I don't know whether he's listening to others more, or maybe the break was just good for him and like being around.
Danny's
other people.
pulling faces.
It's improvement, Danny. What Alex said is right. That from what we had before, vocally
Does that mean it's
still
good,
bad. Lyrics
this is kind of
still
dabbing with
awful.
fake praise.
But
Yeah.
So let's just the notes, because honestly I don't remember the music that much. Honestly, yeah, it's a Gene track, all right. We were singing, and just we're going straight back to those his songs where he's trying to be sexy, but like he doesn't quite know how to go about it, and it's like emphasized by the part where he like puts emphasis on the sex, like my sexuality. Like it's just so cringy.
Yeah, that bit's horrible.
It's so cringy. It's too long and annoying, the song. like you said, Lexi, the echoey part with Paul, I wasn't a big fan of it. And just what the song is trying to do, he can't pull it off. Like, the way he's asking this question and spouting all this stuff, it doesn't make him seem cool. It doesn't make him seem sexy or charismatic.
No, I think we all...
Like, it has the opposite effect. It has the air of desperation, like the way the song goes.
What I think it is, like, if he'd played it to me instrumentally, like on a guitar, like the riff, I'd be like, oh, that sounds like a rock song. You're actually making rock music. And that, to me, shows improvement. Now, the bulk of the rest of their albums doesn't have a Gene song, or the average Gene song is not as heavy or as, I guess, musically dark as this. And considering he's not on the album that much, I would say that is a saving grace, and this is a better track for him. There's not Ladies' Room, Christine 16. I'd say maybe Sweet Pain is probably his other one, which is like passable.
I think Sweet Pain's better than this. I was just about to bring that up. I think that's the moment where I was like, okay, Gene, a little bit of progress. And I'll even give you guys his later track on this album. I think that one, I do not like it, but it's like, okay, I can hear he's putting in the effort. Charisma, I agree with you, Alexi, about the riff. I think I started and I was like, oh, all right, that's a hard-rocking little riff there, fellas. And then it was just like, and it's Gene. Gene's back. And I just put, the fuck is this? And I wrote, I'm not saying this on purpose. It's not just like, oh, it's a Gene song. I hate it. No, it really is. Like, if you're going to get Paul to sing a chorus, you'd have thought that would be like a real good way to save a song. But you get the most ridiculous end of Paul's output at the chorus. It's the word is mad. It's the layered harmonies. I agree that the solo is shredding. It's let down by the song, but it's like whoever's playing has heard Van Halen, and he's there pinching harmonics and they're tapping, and it's lovely. But I just thought, fuck's sake, it's so long, creepy. I just would, I would love to love that chorus with Paul going ape, but I can't. I'm not into this one. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. Magic Touch. Danny, why don't you start this one?
It's a nice 80s heavy-sounding riff at the start, and then I just instantly was thinking, God, Paul Dick's on Gene, just in every way. His songs are better.
Yeah.
Now, I did love this. I can tell he's building off Love Gun, and that's a thumbs-up kind of thing. It's a bit too much for me, honestly. It's progress, but it's too much for me. It's, like the backing vocals are a double-edged sword. I think they're very... Like, I have to say, they're well done. They are grand. But it's just a bit overwhelming, and I'm not sure it quite hits its mark. Solo game, again, very on point. I have no idea who's playing it, but lovely solo. I think it's more that their previous albums. Paul played it, yeah. Then Paul's doing really good on the lead guitar work on this album, if Paul played that. Sorry, I think they're, having heard all their material before this makes me like this song more than I otherwise would, because I just hear it and go, oh, you're focusing on the correct end of your work as a band. It's just a bit exhausting as a song. It's exhausting, and the main thing it needs is dynamic changes. There's no sure no something slamming it. That chorus on Magic Touch would work if we blew into it from a quieter moment. I think that would be great. Slam into it. And I think that's everything I have to say. It's very mid.
I would say that when and this is kind of going off your criticisms, I'd say the song it reminds me the most of is I Stole Your Love, as in all the parts are there, and they work, but the way it's executed isn't great. It's not great. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, in a similar sense to what Dan was saying, like when this track came on, I was actually really into it because I have a big soft spot for like Paul's really campy side, and when he just really goes for it, because we just don't hear many singers like be that way. and he's good at it, and it is ridiculous, and it puts a smile on my face. But yes, this song is too long and doesn't go places. It sort of just hits you, and then there's not much happening after that. So yeah, it's one where after the first chorus, you're sort of kind of done with it. So I don't have much to say for it. It's not awful. It's not awful, and I think, like you were saying, the guitar work, the drums, I think on this track sound really good. I don't remember them doing too much, but they just sound really good on track. A lot of punch to it. But yeah, needs more. Alexi?
Yeah. I agree. I think that there's loads of good parts, and it's a good song in a sense when it's well written. It just isn't executed great, but I still quite like it. I think it's good. It is ploddy, but I think Paul adds enough melodrama to give it, some urgency. He has this style of writing that he does a lot more often, mainly moving forward into the 80s. It's this sort of like melodramatic, like, tonight it ends here. This thing. He does it in a couple more times moving forward. And I do quite like it, like in a campy kind of way, campy 80s metal way. It's not him at his best, but when people complain about this not being a heavy album, this song is a lot heavier than anything off Dress to Kill. Way heavier than anything off Dress to Kill. And it's way heavier than, I was going to say first album, but that's got 100,000 years. But yeah, the majority of the first album and the majority of things that are off Heart of Hell. And it's not disco. It's not a disco song at all. At all. It's good, this one. I think it's, again, like I said, that I Store Your Love problem where there's good stuff in there. It just hasn't been executed as well as it could be. But again, if this is one of the lower ones, there's still a lot of stuff in this which is likable and enjoyable. Hard Times. I would like to start this one. Is that all right?
Okay. Go ahead.
For once, Gene hasn't got the worst song on a Kiss album. Instrumentally, it's not the worst thing in the world. I actually thought it sounded a bit like Devo at first. It sounded almost post-punky. But Ace's vocals are just fucking terrible. Yeah. He sounds like he's just making it up as he goes along, and he just, like, kind of vomits out the lyrics. And I'm sure he's not in time with the music in the verse. He sounds completely out of time. I liked the reverse guitar bit and the kind of descending guitar line, but the vocals in the verse are just fucking abysmal. Just like really amateurish, like defective, not good at all. I'm not saying it should go near the bin or anything like that, but it's by far the worst song on this album. I didn't really like. I thought it was obnoxious, badly put together, and inept, particularly the verse. The chorus is just a bit boring, but the verse is wank. Absolutely wank. Danny.
Yeah, I wrote, now that is not a catchy hook. That is the opposite of catchy hook. It's just...
It probably hits you over the head, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The whole time!
I put nice drum intro. Been a couple of them on this album. Great drums overall on this. And then I looked up and found that Peter barely plays. This was the point I found out.
Yeah, no, he doesn't play. Only plays on one song, which is Day Living.
So that's good. And then straight away, Alexi, I agree with a lot of what you said. I put stop, try to sound like Gene Ace. You don't want to do that. In his defense, I put it legit sounds like his songs are being given less time. Like the mix is worse. I think Paul and Gene are in charge still. Forever at this point, and I think they're not giving it the time.
I think you make a good point, because actually the mix on the last song, which is an Ace song, is really underwhelming.
Yes.
Like proper underwhelming.
Paul's songs, in terms of production and mix, sound way better than Ace. And maybe there's a bit of, Ace wasn't putting in the time or the hours.
They might have given more time to the hits, though.
Yeah, that's true. But still, I think you can tell whoever was mixing this album, I don't think they put as much effort into this as other stuff. But still, that doesn't mean it's a good song. I like the solo. It's nice to hear wah, but it goes straight back into the chorus. So I was losing interest. The descending sort of post-chorus riff is all right, but overall, I don't know if it's the worst on the album. I really don't like Charisma. It's close between those two for me. Alex, what do you think?
It's interesting what you said about they didn't put as much time into this track as much, or Ace's tracks. Part of me, you could be right, but part of me feels like it's kind of Ace being a bit like, oh man, this is just how I roll. Like he's always a bit like kind of has that try hard energy to him, where he's just being like, oh, we don't need to add all this stuff. We just get some guitars, get some drums, vocals, and that's a song right there. So I'm not sure on that one, but yeah, guys, this is a half-baked song, and you're saying the hook of the chorus is bad, but the verses as well. I mean, they're like, we had to take it, we had to fake it, and then we make it. It's so grating, really, really. Yeah, I think it's Gene influence,
and also like
I hope it's Gene influence in a way. You know what I mean? That he didn't come up with that by himself.
Vinny Poncier isn't like a stupid guy. Like, he's worked with Ringo Starr. Like, he helped write the two biggest hits on this album. Like, he must know that sounds bad. He must have said, like, that sounds really shit, Ace. Either give it to Paul, or just don't try. Or don't try, we leave it. Like, that doesn't sound good.
It's a real shame. Sorry, go on, Alex.
No, I don't have much else to say. I think I'll still put Charisma as the worst. Oh, I don't know. Oh, you got me thinking now.
This is just annoying, though. This is really fucking annoying.
It's really annoying. Yeah, nothing else to say.
Have a think. Neither of them are going in the bin, though.
No, I wouldn't put them in the bin. The bin has to be reserved for real duds.
Yeah, like you said, Danny, I like the post-chorus sort of bit. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, it's fine.
Guitar solo's good, and the descending bit is quite nice. Right, next one. Our second of two Gene songs. I haven't really got much to say about this one, so I'll just blast through what I've got. Could be a lot worse from Gene. Again, not great. The verses really are a chore. They really are a fucking chore, and just quite dull. But yeah, again, could be worse. Alex.
It's kind of what we said with the last Gene track, where you see he's really trying his hardest to do more, and he is improving in some senses. At least it's not just as cookie cutter as his old Gene tracks. However, saying that, like, this is still kind of like his voice sounds awful on it, and we have to get the creepy lines. Like, it's amazing how consistent he is with these pervy lines. Like, I've got the opening one here. Sometimes you say you don't want my love today, but baby, I know what you're aiming at. It's just such a creep. Yeah. So I don't have much else to say about it. Like, Gene still continues to sound bad.
There it goes, and it continues. Gene still sounds bad.
Yeah.
You said something I wanted to pick up on. I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, I remember. He had two spots on this album, basically. These were his two best. Like, we say he shows improvement. They're not as bad as they used to be, but these were his two best. Like, fuck's sake.
He was really infatuated with Cher at the time, Alexi, man. Like, he really, he didn't have much to give.
Yes. I generally agree. Like I said before, for me this is more the kind of Gene's trying. He's trying his hardest, but it's like vocally, for example, you can hear him. He's trying hard, and he's not working. It still sounds terrible. I just thought, Gene, do you really think this sounds right here? Yeah, go on
that. How I feel as though we hear Gene try like a new like vocal style every album. Am I right in saying that? I feel as though he's constantly trying out new stuff, and it never's quite right. He can never find what fits for him.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like he's got one note that he's sticking to. He's got all these things. He does try a lot, and it all sucks. I thought in this song, it's like he's trying to write a Paul song, and he literally couldn't help adding Jerry Lee Lewis notes to a Paul song. It's all over the place. Boring riffage in the middle. I'll give this again. This album is littered with solos that are better than the song. Tapping on the solo, I loved it. Very modern, very 80s. God knows who's playing it.
He plays guitar on one of them. He can't have done that though.
He plays guitar on this. It's the best contribution he's ever made to Kiss. Alexi's looking it up. Anyway, what did I say? I just put what happened, Gene. The opening was fine. What did you do? It is the better end of Gene. You're right. This is the better end of Gene.
Nah, it was rhythm guitar, not lead guitar.
Rhythm guitar. Okay. It was Ace. Well, that checks out. I think I saw an interview with Ace, a very modern one, where he was not saying, but basically saying that Van Halen got tapping off him. And he was actively saying, well, I don't know, I was doing this thing on stage. And it's embarrassing, because he's got a guitar in the interview, and he's just like, all the notes are ringing out the other strings. He's not muting them. And he does this tapping thing, and it sounds so bad.
Yeah, he's so sloppy with Ace.
Anyway, actually, I'm done. It's the better end of June, but it still sucks.
Okie dokie. Save Your Love.
I like the triplet in the opening, but I don't remember what that was. Apparently, I like the triplet in the opening. It was a sad feeling, this song, because it's 3 strikes now, isn't it? And I want to defend Ace on this album. The chorus has something to it. There's almost a good chorus in there. I think maybe with work, like you said before, Alexi, maybe give it to Paul or work on it a bit. There's a love. Oh, this is the song, Alexi. There's the sugar dugga dugga bit. Yeah. That's very Peter, but better. It's not an album closer. I don't know why this is the last track. I zoned out during most listens of this one. I did notice the chorus was in my head afterwards. Every time I heard it. So it's catchier than it seems. Also, and I think this sums up the album quite well, there's this little sort of back and forth between Ace and Paul vocally at the end. And I think that's sweet. I think it's sweet. I want more. Like, it's Kiss's own little Hey Bulldog moment. So, I think it's not it's not the worst track on the album by any means. It's very mid, but not a good closer. Alexia.
I think this is good. Again, way heavier than anything on earlier albums. The guitars should be louder. I think you're right. I think they did him dirty on the mix massively. But much like I Stole Your Love or Magic Touch, the raw materials are there, just perhaps not the execution. There's some staccato hits going into the chorus that are just stiff. Really, really stiff. But there's also a wicked drum fill, which would be a dead giveaway, like you said, Danny, for Peter not playing on the record. Anton Fig and Ace, I do think, have a good chemistry, and I think that does...
Yeah, sorry, go on, Alex.
No, I was saying, yeah, and I do think that comes across on this song. It comes across very well on his album, and I think it comes across on this well. Paul doing backing vocals is a really nice addition, I think, particularly at the end, like when you said the Hey Bulldog bit where they're kind of trading off and he's doing the Save Your Love is really good. But again, guitars are not loud enough, they're not heavier enough, and I think it just sounds quite bare, you know. The drums are really fucking loud. I I mean, to be honest, Paul probably should have sung out, and it probably would have been better. But I did quite like it. I think it's a foot tapper. It's not a great closer. It could have had a better closer. But it's still okay. It's still alright. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I also kind of faded out with this song a lot. It was always the one that I was kind of forgetting and I had to go back to and listen. Because it's the end of the album, of an album with long songs. And this one, again, too long. Or at least it feels like it. But it feels like one of the songs from Ace's solo album where I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I kind of liked that it was trying something different. And I particularly like how, like, you can hear Paul is part of this song and they, like, try to complement each other as best they can. I'm not sure they do make the right choices in that sense. Like, with the Paul's addition to the chorus, the sort of like the kind of more low register, the like, that's probably not the best way to use Paul, but I like that you can hear it's Paul and adding to it, while most of the other tracks, it's just like you can hear it's one member who is dictating what that song sounds like, and without much influence from everybody else. But I guess that's just the state of Kiss in 1979. Yeah, I think there's a good song here, but like you guys said, I think it needs more work or maybe rearrange some parts of it. But yeah, it's not a closer, and again, it's too long, and it kind of ends the album in a whimper, really.
Final thoughts. I'm just looking at the list and comparing it to what we've already had.
Well, we've been
I
largely
think that it's definitely
positive, right?
Yeah. There's nothing really shit on this. Oh, apart from Hard Times. But it's not Binworthy. But it's like, I think the songwriting in general is stronger on this album than it is on the majority of the other one. I think it's more consistent. There's nothing really dislikable, I guess. I feel like the two singles are very good, and then you've got maybe like 2 or 3 tracks that are, good, and then you've got other ones that are maybe passable. For me, I would... It's hard. It's hard. Of the original 4 members making an album, this is probably the best one, or the most consistent one. But it's whether it's better than Paul's or Ace's. I'm finding it very, very hard to decide. They got two very high moments, a lot of mid. I think that's it, really, innit? There's a lot of mid. Like, Just to Kill, there's a lot of slightly sub-mid. And then a couple of okay songs. Destroyer, you've got maybe 2 or 3 highs and a lot of sub-mid. This is 2 highs and just a lot of mid. Bulk mid. I'm gonna have to sit with it. Danny, what do you think?
I think I agree with a lot of what you said, Alexia, especially, I didn't even think about the placement as usual, and that's very hard, placement-wise. I thought the whole album is interesting. I think this is the most the 4 of them will ever shine together. Like, together as a band. This is the Beatles' business model we spoke about. Most on display. We're getting a balance of who's singing. I guess Peter's singing that, but it's always going to be like that, right? Peter is Ringo here. Gin's George Harrison. And, Ace and Paul are almost tied on how many songs they're singing. Or are they tied?
They are.
They're tied. There you go. They're tied. So it's like Lennon and McCartney. I think that whole thing is overshadowed by the, oh my god, disco discussion that's happened, which I'm glad we've kind of covered at the start and haven't spoken about since, because we're not very interested in that. It's barely a disco album. and where it is, it's more just that they're writing better choruses. If that makes it disco, then okay, it's disco. It's still not great. This is not this amazing. You can hear in our voices, none of us are showering this with praise. If Ace is playing the solos, they're amazing. He's slaying. It sounds like it's a mix. Mostly, it sounds like he is playing the solos. In which case, he's doing great. But Paul shines out as always, songwriting wise. He still comes out on top. I think we expect that at this point. Gene is wonderfully absent. And knowing what's to come, I'm just happy we got any Peter at all. Really, it's not a big end. He's not ended with a bang, but we got a little raspy song from Peter, and that's what I want. So do you know what I mean? This feels like the first album I could really, the balance between the members is there, and actually I think track per track it's not. I think they're more taking their own songs themselves. They're less of a unit. But again, it's that Beatles business model, and I like that. I'd love for Peter to sing a little more. I'd love for Gene to sing even less. 2 songs is still too much, but that's improvement. I'd love for Ace to have written better songs, and for them to have worked on his ideas better. You can see it. I'm like you, Alexis. I'm confused. As for the placement, can I see the list? Maybe it is between Paul and Destroyer. Maybe higher. I'm speaking out loud. I'm thinking out loud here. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we go above the Paul solo album. Personally, I think this, even though
what's
maybe
the rationale behind that?
Even though maybe the quality of the songs might be of a similar level as the Paul solo album, because I remember those few tracks that I definitely like. But I think
Paul's is a lot of mid as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
and kind of 2 high points, and then a lot of mid.
Well, he's got some good highs.
But what I was going to say, I think this album is heavily impacted with how poorly the track listing is. I think the momentum is all over the place on this one.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
You do get a lot of heavy hitters to start with. But yeah, like the way the album ends, it's on a bit of a drag, especially compared to the first 4 tracks, I'd say, even though I wasn't a fan of 2000 Man.
Would you put this above Destroyer then?
Yeah, right now I'm thinking we put it above Destroyer. I'm just going to have a look at Destroyer now to
Well, I'm looking at the track listing. Well, I'm looking at the track listing of Destroyer. You've got Detroit Rock City, which is good. King of the Nighttime World, nothing. God of Thunder, bad. Great Expectations, really fucking bad. Flaming Youth, okay. Sweet Pain, okay. Shout It Out Loud, good. Beth, good. Do You Love Me? Just funny, yeah, funny, just funny. And Rock and Roll Party isn't really a thing. And then on this you've got I Was Made for Loving You, Jam, 2000 Man. I think, well, if we take this as like a group thing,
I say just okay.
Not great.
Yeah, not good. Yeah.
Sure Know Something, good. Dirty Living, good.
Yeah.
Charisma, mid. Magic Touch, mid. Hard Times, bad. X-Ray Eyes, sub mid. Save Your Love. Save Your Love's mid.
You can tell all 3 of us are trying to like that song. There's a good song in Save Your Love. Alex, you're right about the track listing, man. I'm looking at this. It really falls off on the second side.
Yeah, side B. It all goes off a fucking cliff. I don't know if it is better than Destroyer. Destroyers seem to have like a better batting average, where it's got like 1, 2, 3 good songs. Oh, this says 1, 2, 3.
I'm not sure we should do it that way in terms of like counting the songs like that, but I think after going through those tracks, I think you're right. I think we put it below Destroyer.
Well, at first, when I came off it, I was like, oh, well, that's the best one of the original 4. Like, the original 4 members, because There wasn't anything that was really, really bad. There wasn't any 50s rock and roll shit on it. Not really much plot. Everything seemed a lot kind of darker, more minor. But then when I A/B it with Destroy, I'm like, well, actually, yeah, Destroy's got some really low points, but altogether, it kind of has the same sort of hit average.
But I was just thinking, I think actually the levels of highs between the two albums are quite similar, but the lows on Destroyer are much more prominent.
Yeah, that's the point. So, like, God of Thunder, Great Expectations are really, really bad. Really bad. Destroy Rock City is a high. I think I prefer Sure Know Something to Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, absolutely. I prefer Sure Know Something and I Was Made for Loving You to Detroit Rock City. I
mean, I kind of, out of principle, want to put it higher because Kiss fans would just be so angry.
Yeah, me too. That makes me want to put it higher.
Because they hate this album.
I do like Beth, though. Beth brings it up for me.
I know, I forgot about Beth. Fuck!
What are you thinking, Alex?
Well, on Destroyer, they're not wearing capes, which is a big plus, obviously.
Goes below Destroyer.
No. I think, okay, I am going back and forth in it, because it depends how you look at it. Because, yeah, like we said, the lows on Destroyer are very low. We can put it above... We can put it above Destroyer, because simply enough, like the guitar solos and stuff on Dynasty, they rock.
Better.
The drums,
the playing is
solid,
pretty hard on this album.
Should we put it above?
I'm just thinking about it as an album from front to back.
Let's go.
Good as Destroyer.
I would put it, if it was just me, I would put it just below Destroyer. That's just what I think. Would you?
It sounds like Alexi thinks so too, so let's put it just below Destroyer.
Yeah.
I'm legitimately unsure. I'm leaning towards putting it just above Destroyer, but I think that's 2 against 1, so let's do putting it... I've no problem with putting it below Destroyer.
Okay, Alexi,
it's hard.
What do you think?
We can always table a motion to rejig the album ranking.
Okay.
Fuck. So putting it above this, there it is. So just to recap, we got Gene's solo album at the bottom, Heart in Hell, Rock and Roll Over, 8 Kiss, 7 Love Gun, 6 Peter's solo album, 5th Dress to Kill, 4th Dynasty, 3rd Destroyer, 2nd Paul's solo album, and 1st Ace's solo album. And in the bin we've got Going Blind, Love 'Em Leave 'Em, Great Expectations, Love Theme from Kiss, Nothing to Lose, Kiss in Time, Christine 16, Plastercaster, Living in Sin. I forgot about that one. There's the Living in Sin at the Holiday Inn. That one. That's like the worst one. That's the one where it's like, you've been sending me sexy pictures.
Yeah.
That's the worst one, I think. It's even worse than Christine 16. The worst one. When You Wish Upon a Star. Tunnel of Love.
Ace should be thanking us right now for not putting Hard Times in there. We're being nice to him.
Yeah, we're being nice.
I don't think it was that bad. It's pretty bad. Anyway, so next time we've got Unmasked. We don't have Peter. Peter is gone. He doesn't even sing. He is on the front. However, his replacement, Eric Carr, doesn't play on this album either. It's Anton Fig again. Ace, though, has 1, 2, 3, 4 songwriting credits. It's the most, I believe, he's ever had on a Kiss album. Gene sings, oh god, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's alright.
But I've just looked at the track listing. Oh my god, some of these names.
Paul has a healthy. Paul has a healthy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Good. That's good.
Okay.
Especially, we need to make up if Peter's not singing on it. We need to make up with Paul.
I know 2 songs from this. I know Shandy and Talk to Me.
I don't think I know any. This might be the first time, except the solo albums, that I don't know any of the songs.
Shandy was a big hit in Australia.
Okay.
Seriously, it was. It was a big hit.
What should we sing?
What was the really bad Ace one? I can't remember what it's called. Cause the hard times are dead and gone, and the hard times are dead and gone. Alright, leave it there. Right,
Okay,
stop
I'm